Well, good morning and welcome to everybody to the Cheyenne Livestock Expo. To kick off this morning, we're going to start off with the Berkshire Market Hogs in our hog show. We'd like to extend our thanks and make some special recognitions to our amazing sponsors that make this entire thing possible. And so we're hoping to get started here right directly, and I'm going to recognize several of those sponsors and a lot of the people that help all throughout the day here today, including our hog superintendent. Big thank you to Lucas Stallcup as our hog superintendent here this morning, as well as all of the volunteers that help put this on. As I said, I'll be mentioning several of those sponsors as we go here throughout the day. Our first class here this morning will be class number 1, Berkshire Market Hogs, and in this class, Colton Fields, Livy Tannen, Allie Souls, Hannah Davis, Landon Schaefer, Michaela Curlis, Addison Hodson, and Reese Sr. Our judge for today is Mr. Will Hilty from Mount Pleasant, Pennsylvania, where he grew up on a diversified livestock farm, exhibiting cattle and pigs throughout his 4-H years. He now owns and operates Hilty Show Pigs, which consists of 150 crossbred sows with his wife Callie and their daughters Kinley and Kenna. Will has judged shows from coast to coast, including San Antonio, Oklahoma Youth Expo, Tulsa, Indiana State Fair, Iowa State Fair, the North American in Louisville, Kentucky, as well as the Exposition. In his free time, he enjoys spending time with family and friends, fishing, watching Steeler football, and attending livestock shows. So again, big thank you to Will Hilty as he works through our Market Hog and our Gilt show here this morning. like to take this time as well to remind all of our exhibitors here throughout the day, make sure you go fill out a thank you card over at the Livestock office. We've got a lot of really good sponsors that make this whole thing run and make it all of this happen. And so we ask that you go fill out those thank you cards to thank our generous sponsors for all the great awards that we get to win over the course of the last 2 weeks. So thank you guys if you could fill out those thank you cards at the Livestock office.
Well, good morning. Certainly excited to be with you here in the great state of Wyoming. First time I've had the opportunity to actually come to Wyoming, let alone sort stock. So excited to be here. I think we've got a great way to get started this morning with this class of Berkshire Market Hogs. I think the depth of quality in this particular class, if it's any indication of the kind of quality we're going to have to work with today, I think it's going to be a really, really fun day. Young lady that's got our champion and our class winner right here in front of me, I thought was just the combination barrow of this particular drive. I like his look from shoulder blade forward. I think his bone and feature matches what he's got up high. I think where he has the decided advantage over the bear that comes in two, he blends better right there through his ham-loin junction. You get right on top of him. He's more expressive in terms of his shape, feeding out of the backside of his blade and into his hip and stifle. Presented awesome in terms of skin and hair. Young lady does a great job of getting him driven. My compliments to her. The one that comes in two gives you a really good shot when he drives right at you. He's bold and open in his chest. He's probably a notch heavier structured than what our class winner is when you study his forearm and foot size. I love the bend to his rear leg and just the way he utilizes his rear skeleton. Maybe wants to get just a little thicker in his neck, wants to just tie a little differently right there through his ham-loin junction, but that is a heavy duty one. I think if he does the right things going forward, that's one that could have an awfully bright future. One that comes in three, another one that's presented awesome in terms of skin and hair. He's got this thing dialed in and ready to come to the show. Of the initial trio, I think maybe he's the best in terms of just the turn to his forerib and the midsection of his body. He's a little shorter out of his hip, and as a result, the longer we ask this guy to drive, he just wants to tighten a fraction out of his hip and rear leg. I've got to make him more athletic. I've got to be able to make him sustain the drive a notch longer. One that comes out of four, initial impression, this is a very high-quality show barrow. Tall-fronted, flat back. Again, he's one that I've just got to make more athletic out here. He's shorter out of his hip. He's higher and tighter in his spine. I've just got to relax his skeleton, make him go with some more ease and comfort. Really wet, fresh, well-presented when comes next. He just needs to be heavier structured for me to get any higher. And then I thought, again, the depth of quality was good here. Just some that need to balance and proportion a notch better before we can get them higher. Great way to start off this morning. Let's give those young people a nice round of applause.
Congratulations to our Berkshire exhibitors. Top five in that class. Fifth place was Hannah Davis. Fourth, Michaela Curlis. Third, Landon Schaefer. Second is Livy Tannen. And first is Addison Hodson. That is our lone class of Berkshire Market Hogs, so that will also serve as a division. In the ring now will be class number 2, Duroc Market Hogs. So the first of our Duroc Market Hog classes. And this class is Kylie Pfeiffer, Carlina Tannen, Addison Hodson, and Isabel Shaw.
We shift gears and get into the red breed here, and just a class of 4 here. But I think 4 very high quality individuals. The young lady here in the pink drives our class winner. I just love this one from a maturity standpoint. I love him from just a structural build and an integrity standpoint in terms of his skeleton. I like his look ahead of his blade. I prefer his angulation to his shoulder, his cushion to his front knee. I think just allow him to reach and go with more comfort and flex out of his front end. I think he uses his rear leg with more flex and authority as he plants and goes across the surface. I'm not going to tell you he's the bulkiest just in terms of shape and muscle, but I think it fits him at this stage of his life. He looks like a Duroc barrel that's on his way up, that's potentially got better days ahead. The one that comes in too does come with more bulk and just a true hard shape when you get right on top of him, particularly coming out of the backside of his blade. He's just an animal that offers more muscle from end to end. I just don't think he's designed quite as well as what our class winner is. He wants to get just a little stilty about his shoulder and his front end, like to roll his blade back in him, and then as we watch him go to the ground as he goes directly away from us, he just wants to track a fraction narrow as he goes right away. But certainly admire that one just from a muscle and a stoutness perspective. He does those things very well. A lot of the same things could be said about the barrel that comes out next, one that's got some extra bone and feature. He's a really muscular kind of show barrel when you get right on top of him. I've just got to design him a notch differently. He wants to set a little lower at the point of his shoulder, wants to close up from his knee to the ground when he comes right at me, and he wants to get just a little crestier right there at the top side of his pole and his neck. But man, he's fresh, he's well presented. Young lady's done an awesome job of that, getting that one ready for the show. Really muscular gilt that rounds out our class here. I like her shape and just her dimension. She's a gilt that just got to be loose or hinged off of both ends of her skeleton before we can consider her any higher today. Good class of those reds. Let's put our hands together, congratulate those young people.
Results of Class 2 Duroc Market Hogs. 4th place was Kylie Pfeiffer. 3rd, Addison Hodson. 2nd, Carlina Tannen. And 1st is Isabel Shaw. This will be class number 3 Duroc Market Hogs. In this class is Allison Plum, Traley Folan, Emmy Hacker, Owen Steffen, and Kylie Pfeiffer. I'd like to take this time to thank a couple of our sponsors here this morning. At the Grand Champion level, we have the Derby Club, Stock Show Secrets, Showtech and ADM Feeds, as well as Visit Cheyenne. Also, I'd like to thank Freeman Showbox, Miranda Simpson, and State Farm Insurance, as well as Transova, Weber Law, Herc Rental, Kubota Equipment, and 5R Construction. Thank those sponsors a great deal for making all of this possible for us to be here this weekend. I'm going to highlight several more of those sponsors here throughout the day, but big thank you to those sponsors, and also just as a reminder to our exhibitors to go over and sign those thank you cards to thank those sponsors as well.
As we get into this second class of Duroc Market Hogs, no doubt a class that presents a lot of challenges. It's one of those classes that if you had a phone a friend option and wanted to call somebody and have them come out here so you could bounce some ideas off of them, this would certainly be one of those classes. I realistically think a young lady that's in fifth, different judge, different scenario, you could work your way up considerably in this class. I guess the barrel that wins the class, I'll be honest, he's borderline too much in some areas for me, but when you go through your system of checks and balances and just want to land on the one that has the most positives, I think that's him. Although he pushes the envelope for how wide and how bulky I like them, man, he is stout featured. He's big-armed, he's stout-jawed, and for one that brings all those extras to the table, he stays in check in terms of squareness to his hock. He stays in check in terms of just pastern strength and his build. I'll be honest with you, his fit job's maybe just a little gaudy for me. I know it's part of it, hair and glue and paint, and I think when it's well done, it certainly has its place. It's a little bit much for me on that one. I'm not trying to make an example of you, but I think it's early enough in the day that if we get that out there, certainly some people that could take it into consideration. Really good pig that offers some extreme pieces. My compliments to the young man on doing a nice job. Young lady that comes in second, I probably prefer her barrel just in terms of his maturity pattern and where he's at in terms of his look ahead of his blade. He's a fresh, muscular barrel. He wants to flatten too much in the midsection of his body, and then I just can't get past the fact that he's another one that just wants to be too upright in his blade and his front knee. I've got to roll his blade back in him. I've got to stouten him just a fraction in comparison to our class winner. But, man, that one checks a lot of boxes in terms of proportionality, freshness, skin and hair is awesome. My compliments to the young lady. One that comes in three, certainly maybe a gilt that's at the latter part of her show career, maybe fits into that breeding gilt scenario just a notch better. Tall-fronted, flat-back, heavy-bone kind of gilt. I guess in a market hog setting, when you talk about freshness and shape, she's maybe just a bit past prime, particularly when I get right in behind her and watch her go directly away from me. One that comes next, really muscular, heavy-duty kind of barrel. I just got to change the way he wants to wrinkle there in his top line, smooth him there through his ham-loin junction, and then just make him more coordinated in terms of the way he goes out of his hip and rear leg. Young lady that rounds out the class, man, her skin and hair is awesome. She's done a really good job of taking care of this barrel. I've got to open him up through the midsection of his body. I've got to make him just plant and go with more flex and authority off his rear too. Really challenging class that offered some quality. Let's put our hands together and congratulate those young people.
Results of class number 3, Duroc Market Hogs. Fifth place is Emma Hacker. Fourth, Traley Folan. Third is Kylie Pfeiffer. Second is Allison Plum. And first is Owen Steffen. So now this will be our division drive, our breed drive for the Durocs. And so out of class number 2, first in that class was Isabel Shaw. Second, Carolina Tannen. And out of class number 3, first place was Owen Steffen, and second was Allison Plum.
We get our two class winners and our 2 seconds back out here. Just 2 classes of these reds, and without a doubt, a breed that presented some challenges as we worked through it. Yet I thought had some really good parts and pieces to work with here on the top end. As we get these 4 back out here, certainly compliment the young people on a job well done. And a lot of times ringside, you want to sit and say a judge is consistent. He uses the same type and kind. I think this is a scenario where obviously good livestock come in different shapes and sizes and kinds, but I thought these were the best ones within their respective classes. I'll be the first one to admit they don't look a whole lot alike when we talk about our class winners. There's one of them that I just prefer from a look and balance standpoint. He looks like a Duroc barrel that fits his weight. He looks like he's on the way up. He looks like he's got even better days ahead. I think the same scenario as you consider one for reserve, and then our other class winner. I just prefer the look, design, pattern, build, and flexibility of those 2 out of our first class. Young lady right here is going to be champion. Young lady right there is going to be reserve. Congratulations.
And the champion Duroc Market Hog goes to Isabel Shaw. Reserve champion Duroc is Carlina Tannen. So that will now bring us to class number 4. This will be the first class of the Hampshire Market Hogs. And this class is Aiden Piddington, Brinley Coriel, Gavin Piddington, Audrey Davis, Cade Smith, Braden Fields, Zach Vaughn, and Leighton Hopkins. I'd like to take just a second to thank a few more of our sponsors at the purple level: Texcoda, Laramie County Community College, Allied Nutrition, Murdoch's, Cheyenne Frontier Days, as well as the Wyoming Hereford Association, No Sharpening, Cooper Specialty Feeds, Alpha 2 Omega, Next Gen, and Riverstone Bank. Once again, thank you to all of our sponsors that make all of this possible for this weekend.
As we shift gears here and get into the Hampshire breed, I think without a doubt we get into a little more quality. We get into some more depth of quality. I think young people should be complimented top to bottom within this particular drive. Young lady's barrow that wins this class maybe at a slight disadvantage just from a weight and size perspective, but I think without a doubt he's the best one. And it starts when you study this one's skeleton, the angle to his blade, the cushion and scoop to his front knee, the set to his front pastern, study the bend to his rear leg, the way he utilizes his rear leg. And then when you get into the midsection of this one, I think he opens with more shape and cage to the midsection of his body. I think he's more appropriate in terms of his top line than the gilt that comes in second. I think that's a really solid one that maybe just doesn't wow you in any one particular area, but man, he checks a lot of boxes and he's hard to poke a major hole in. The gilt that comes in too, no doubt, maybe comes with just a little more wow factor in terms of look and bone and hair. I love those things about her. She's a heavy structured gilt. When I get off to the side view profile of this gilt, she just wants to be too high and tight in terms of her spine. I've got to relax her spine. I've got to flesh her up through her forerib in the midsection of her body. I think that's a gilt going forward, man. If her top line will flatten out and she'll flesh there through the midsection of her body, I think that's one that could have an incredibly bright future if she does the right things going forward. She's certainly got some wow factor to go with her. The one that comes next, a barrow that's awesome in terms of presentation. He's heavy structured. He's got a big as a forearm and just bone column as anything in this particular class. I've got to change the shape to his head just a fraction. More importantly, when I get right in behind him, he wants to get a little uneven in terms of his rear toe size. I've got to give him bigger rear toes, even them up, and then just make his hock set in him just a notch more correctly. He just wants to get a little coarser jointed. He wants to get a little puffier hock. But man, I love his bone. I love his shape. I love his stoutness. Young man drives the wheels off that thing. My compliments to him. He does an excellent job. Barrow that comes next is one that catches a pin just in terms of proportionality. He's a good rib, good body kind of barrow that uses his hip and hind leg appropriately in terms of the way he reaches and goes. I've got to stouten this guy about his head. I've got to extend him from shoulder blade forward. But again, a really solid, practical kind kind of a show barrel allows him to catch a pen in this particular class. Really stout-headed one that comes next, and I like the extra bone and feature that this guy brings to the table. Reed's maybe just a little quicker in terms of his maturity pattern when we study him in his length of cannon and project maybe how big of a hog he's ever going to be. He looks a little quicker to me, but more importantly, when I get right in behind this guy, he just wants to use his rear leg with too much of an east and west motion. Another one, though, that's fresh, well presented, really muscular kind of a show barrel. Young man does an awesome job. One that comes next gives a beautiful look from the side view profile. He's a sharp, attractive barrel up through his head and his front end. This one, to me, just needs more time on feed. He looks like a barrel that's got better days ahead. If he'll continue to come with some muscle and shape, he just gets too disappointing to me today when I get right in behind him and watch him go directly away. Really muscular one that comes next, needs some more rib, body, and just center to her. And then the barrel that rounds out the class, big-chested, muscular one. He's just got to handle his rear leg a notch differently before we can get him any higher. Really good class to start off our Hampshire show. My compliments to those exhibitors. Let's give them a nice round of applause.
Results of Class 4 Hampshire Market Hogs, the first of our two Hampshire Market Hog classes. Fifth place is Gavin Piddington. Fourth, Cade Smith. Third is Zach Vaughn. Second is Audrey Davis. And first is Brinley Coriel. So this now brings us to Class 5 Hampshire Market Hogs. In this class is Elena Shaw, Brooke Vaughn, Emery Chamberlain, Jackson Hodson, Carlina Tannen, Colton Fields, Win West, and Emma Hacker. Attention in the hog barn. We're on the final class of Hampshire. The final class of Hampshire, then we'll have a breed drive and move right into the light AOB. So this will serve as first call for the line of class number 6. And also, for those of you sitting around ringside, we're trying to work on getting this microphone to work back in the barn. So be patient with us there. We're about to have that fixed here in just a second. those of you sitting around ringside, we're working on getting this other microphone to work back in the barn, so kind of be patient with us there. We've got a problem solver that's working on it right now. So just check either with Mr. Better or Jeremiah Darr in the meantime on kind of knowing where classes are, or send a representative up to the ring just for the time being. But we are working on getting a mic to work back in the barns.
I apologize for maybe taking just a little more time with this initial trio, but I think the quality of stock that we've got to work with no doubt warrants that little bit of extra time, and I don't think it's close, or I don't think it's easy. I think it's a very close decision. I think you could rearrange this initial trio several different ways depending upon what you want to prioritize. I think also important to take into consideration that we have to analyze these things for what they are today, yet they're not quite fighting weight. They've got days ahead, so I think there's just a little bit of projecting that goes into it also. I think the barrow that wins the class, without a doubt, is the best skeleton one. That's where he wins the class. When you step off to the side of him and study the angle to his blade, the height of his shoulder, the extension and look that he's got through the front one-third of his body, I don't know that we can make him any better in terms of the front one-third of this one's body. Study the shape to his head. He's got an awesome show barrel head. His depth to his jaw, his prominence to his jaw are all very, very good. I think what makes it close is he's a fraction longer bodied. He wants to flatten just a shade through his full rib in the midsection of his body. I think with days on feed, though, if this one does the right things, he could be an absolute hammer as a heavyweight. He suits me very, very well today just from a skeletal build and look and stoutness perspective. Good pig to go ahead and win this class. The one that comes in two, no doubt, he has the advantage in terms of just shape and muscle. When you get right on top of him, he's just got an extra crisp blowing edge working in him. He goes away from you with more flair to his hip and stifle than what our class winner does. I don't read him to be as stout structured, particularly his jaw and his forearm. Then I've got to blend him just a little differently right there through his ham-loin junction. But I love his length of body. I love his length to height ratio. I love the extra shape and muscle that he comes with. The one that comes in three, there's no doubt that there's times where I had this barrel winning the particular class because I think of the initial trio. He's the one that comes with some extra bells and whistles. I talked about the barrel that wins the class in terms of his look and extension up front. This is another one that's awesome through the front one-third of his body. He's got that extra bone and stoutness and feature. He's got more shape than the two barrels right ahead of him coming out of the backside of his blade. Unfortunately, the longer we ask this guy to go, he's just a little shorter and steeper out of his hip. As a result, he just wants to become a little more east and west in terms of the way he utilizes his rear leg. But man, that's one that's got some extra bells and whistles. Awesome in terms of fit job and presentation. My compliments to that young lady and her family from that perspective. That's a really good pig to be in third place today. One that comes next, a bigger frame, bigger outline one that is just too flat and dry through the midsection of his body. Then we round out with a trio of them that have some muscle and shape. They just need to be more coordinated in terms of the way they utilize their rear skeletons. I thought a really, really good class. Let's put our hands together. Congratulate those exhibitors.
Results of Class 5 Hampshire Market Hogs. 5th place was Emma Hacker. 4th, Brooke Vaughn. 3rd is Emery Chamberlain. 2nd is Jackson Hodson. And 1st is Carlina Tannen. So now this will be the breed drive of the Hampshire Market Hogs. So out of class number 4, first place in that class was Brinley Coriel. 2nd was Audrey Davis. And out of class 5 Hampshire Market Hogs, first was Carlina Tannen. And 2nd was Jackson Hodson. So this will also serve as final call for Class 6 Light AOB Market Hogs. Final call for Class 6 Light AOB Market Hogs.
Well, I think a really good Hampshire show to work through, just 2 classes of them again. But, man, I think these class winners and seconds, they'd fit into the top end of them anywhere you go out there. I think for me, obviously, if you watch my body language and watch the couple that I've been studying, it comes down to the 2 class winners for me. I think a very, very close decision. I think they're hogs that are both good from a structural integrity standpoint, and I think there are some advantages to each one of them. I think, this lightweight barrow, he's so proportional. He's bold about his chest. He's round about his body. He's really fresh and shapely when you get right on top of him. He's square when he goes directly away from you. He's one that's just hard to poke a major hole in. Then we come back to the heavyweight, and I talked about his front end assembly, his shoulder height, his shoulder set, the cushion to his front knee and front pastern, while still maintaining good foot strength. I think are all incredible. He is a fraction longer bodied. He's not as shapely as what the lightweight barrow is. I think he could be an incredibly good heavyweight someday if he does the right things. But I think as we stand out here and judge them for what they are, one of them just proportions a notch better, comes with a little more horsepower in today's setting. Young ladies lightweights champion, young ladies heavyweights your reserve.
And the champion the champion Hampshire Market Hog goes to Brindley Coriel, and reserve champion is Carlina Tannen. So this will now bring us to our lone class of light AOB market hogs. This will be Class 6 light AOB market hogs. So this will serve as first call for Class 7 dark AOB market hogs. First call, dark AOB market hogs. To make the Cheyenne Livestock Expo go down as well, there's a board of volunteers that make this all possible in addition to our sponsors. And so I want to take time to thank our chairman, Pam Freeman, our vice chairman, Lucas Stallcup, as well as board members Scott Vetter, Dylan Freeman, Marv Benton, Kerry Northington, Brian Wilson, Jeremiah Darr, Amanda Weber, Jefferson Keller, and Landon Eldridge. Big thank you to those guys for making all this happen, as well as all of our volunteers throughout the 2 weeks that this happens. Thank you to all those guys for all the work they put in, not just over the course of these 2 weeks, but all year round to make the Cheyenne Livestock Expo happen. This will be second call for Class 7 Dark AOB Market Hogs. Second call, Class 7 Dark AOB Market Hogs.
Well, like a really good pair of white barrels surface here in our light AOBs, but I think the young man that has the Yorkshire barrel wins this particular breed or this particular division and does so pretty handily there with his Yorkshire barrel. That's one that's ultra attractive from the side view profile. He's sharp about his head and neck. He's heavy structured. He's really fresh and shapely when you get right on top of him. I think he has a decided advantage over the bear that comes in two, just in terms of the way he plants and drives off of his rear two. He does it with authority and flex. I guess, if I want to get critical of him long term, he's got to continue to flesh and blend just a notch right there through his ham-loin junction. But I think that's an awfully good Yorkshire barrel that goes ahead and wins this particular drive and does it pretty handily. Young man's Chester appearing barrel that comes in second, one that I just absolutely love from a proportionality standpoint, the way everything balances and fits together from the side view profile. He does come with more punch to his forerib and the center portion of his body than what our champion does. Just not as attractive about his head and neck, and then when you study the way he utilizes his rear skeleton, he just doesn't plant and drive with the same kind of authority as our Yorkshire barrel. But man, that is a high quality Chester barrel. My compliments to that young man and his family. Young lady's Landrace appearing barrel that comes out next. I think this is a very good representative of that particular breed. He's heavy boned. He's soft and pliable through his midsection. Yet he's got shape and muscle up high. I think where he has the decided advantage over the Yorkshire gilt that comes in four is when I get right in behind him, watch his hock work, watch his rear foot hit the ground, and just the way his rear skeleton functions, I think is where he has the advantage over the big Yorkshire gilt that comes in four. The young lady's gilt that comes in four, man, my hat's off to her. Just a young girl out here driving this big gilt, and man, she does an awesome job at it. That is a stout-headed, big-armed kind of a Yorkshire female. Certainly appreciate those things about her. I've just got to tweak her a fraction when I get right in behind her, square her hock, give her a bigger rear foot, make her go with just a notch more authority as she goes directly away. A good looking, attractive Yorkshire barrel that comes next. He's got to be more robust through his forerib and his midsection. I've got to freshen him just a notch in terms of his presentation and his shape up high. Then we round out with a pair or a trio of down-eared white AOBs that certainly bring some muscle and shape to the table. They're hogs that just got to be better in terms of bone. They're hogs that got to be better in terms of their structure. But my compliments to the young ladies on a job well done. Really good class. I thought an excellent kind of champion. My compliments to all those young folks as they head back.
Results of Class 6 Light AOB Market Hogs. Top 5, 5th place is Tyler Shaw. 4th is Kinsley Curlis. 3rd is Jolion Taveros. 2nd is Easton Walter. And 1st is Blaze Davis. That was our lone class of Light AOBs, so that will serve as our division championship. And this will be Class 7 Dark AOB Market Hogs. And in this class is Madison Lapp, Emma Hacker, Emery Chamberlain, Waverly Millard, Win West, Ashlyn Johnson, and Caleb Hackbart. And this is our lone class of dark AOBs as well. So once again, this will serve as a division drive. And so this will serve as first call for Class 8 Light Cross Market Hogs. First call for Class 8 Light Cross Market Hogs. I'd also like to take a moment to remind all of our exhibitors, please wear your back tags if you could, please. That helps us quite a bit up here at the desk, so please wear your back tags before you come into the show ring, please. This will be second call for Class 8 Light Cross Market Hogs. Second call, Class 8 Light Cross Market Hogs.
As we get into these dark AOBs, a challenging class from the standpoint of we've got multiple different breeds that come in various shapes and sizes, but at the end of the day, I think when we just step back and analyze them for what they are, the young lady's bear right here in front of me wins this particular division and does so pretty handily. Bold-chested, he's fresh-backed. When you study him from the side view profile, everything fits together from just a proportionality standpoint. He has a decided advantage in terms of just shape and muscle when you get right on top of him. And then for one that comes with all those extras, he wants to get just a shade wide behind, but I think he utilizes his skeleton in more than an acceptable fashion. Maybe like to change his ear set just a little bit from a breed character standpoint, but I think that's a very, very good barrow to go ahead and win this particular drive. Young lady's Tamworth appearing barrow that's going to go ahead and be reserved here. Just really a problem-free, really functional kind of a market hog. He comes with some extra bone and foot. He's really robust through the midsection of his body, and I think where he has a decided advantage over the barrow that comes in 3, he just proportions better. When you study his top line and the way everything fits together, it just blends so much better than the Poland barrow that comes in 3. That's what allows him to go ahead and work his way up a notch. The Poland barrow that comes in 3, I think a very good representative of this particular breed, particularly just from a structural integrity standpoint. He gets out here and he covers some surface. He's got the right kind of set and angle to his blade. He's got cushion and flex to his rear too. When I study him from the side view profile, he just wants to come in too many pieces. I've got to blend him and balance him just a notch differently. Spotted gilt comes next. I certainly thought about getting this particular gilt into a pen because I like her extra muscle and shape. I think she's good in terms of her proportions. Where she falls out for me, you study her rear pastern. She just wants to get too vertical. She's got to have more set and cushion to her rear pastern just to allow her to get out here and handle her rear skeleton a notch better today. Young lady's barrow that comes next, good kind of a spotted barrow from the side view profile. I like his shape. I like his feature. I get right in behind him. He wants to just simply push his hock too far outside of his body. Young man's big barrow there comes next. A barrow I like just from a balance and feet and legs standpoint. He's just a little past his prime in terms of shape and muscle. He's getting to the upper limit there in terms of size and maturity. Then we round out with a good Poland appearing barrow there in terms of bone and muscle. I've got to blend him again just a notch differently in terms of the way everything fits together there. A really good class of AOBs that offer tons of quality top to bottom. My compliments to the young people as they head back.
Results of Class 7 Dark AOBs. Top 5. Fifth place was Madison Lapp. Fourth, Emma Hacker. Third was Emery Chamberlain. And second was Ashlyn Johnson. And first was Win West. Again, that was our lone class of Dark AOBs. And so that also served as that division drive. And so now this will be class number 8, Light Cross Market Hogs. And this class is Brinley Coriel, Luke Charles, Hannah Davis, Blaze Davis, Dawson Wade, Audrey Davis, Trey Mills, Cooper Zolman, Bailey Stromberger, and Reese Sr. This class ranges in weight from 160 pounds to 224 pounds. This will be first call for class number 9, Light Cross Market Hogs. First call, class number 9, Light Cross Market Hogs. This will be second call for Class 9, Light Cross Market Hogs. Second call, Class 9, Light Cross Market Hogs.
was we shift gears and jump into the crosses. I think this initial class of these light crosses is very, very good. I think right off the bat, maybe we penned 6 of them back, and I think rightfully so. I think it's close between these initial 3. I think are very, very good. The young lady there in the yellow, I think that's one that just comes with some extras in terms of his look from the side view profile. He's so sharp and attractive about his head and neck. He's flat backed. He's long and level out of his hip. For one that comes with some extra punch, man, he still stays comfortable in terms of the way he hinges and goes out of his hip and rear leg. And I think where he is simply overwhelming is when he turns and comes right at you. He's as bold-chested and opened up in his chest fuller as maybe anything we've seen so far today. I think that's a very, very good pig to go ahead and win this particular class. The one that comes in 2, I love just from a stoutness and ruggedness perspective. You study this guy's rear skeleton, the set and curvature to his hock, the bend and cushion to his rear pastern, just the way he plants and drives off his rear too, I think is very, very impressive. In comparison to our class winner, he's a little thicker right there at the top of his neck, and then when we study that guy from teeth back, I think he gets maybe just a shade looser. I think that's something that needs to be monitored long term, but man, heavy duty with an awesome rear leg that just hinges and goes so comfortably. I just absolutely love that one's rear leg drive. I thought a close placing there between 1 and 2. The gilt that comes out of 3, initial impression on this one, I believe the first gilt that we dropped in the ring in this particular class, and man, she is dialed in and ready to come to the show. Of the initial trio, she's the best in terms of her shape and muscle coming out of the backside of her blade. She's got an absolute ditch working down her back. She's got flare to her hip and stifle. She goes directly away from me. I guess the longer we ask this particular gilt to drive, she wants to pull apart just a fraction there at her ham-loin junction, wants to become a notch more restricted off of her rear skeleton, particularly that left rear as she hinges and goes. But that's one that's ultra fresh, presented to a T from a skin and hair perspective. Young man and his family have done an awesome job with that particular gilt. The barrel that comes in 4 here, the blue-necked barrel, one that's absolutely loved just from a proportionality standpoint. His length to height ratio, his frame size, I think are all spot on. He's a heavy structured, loose hinged barrel. I think he's just got to have more groceries for me today. He's a good patterned, he's good built, but in comparison to the 3 we had ahead of him, he's by some margin the lightest muscled in terms of shape and muscle. I think if you gas that guy up and he continues to come with some bulk and spread as he matures, I think that's one that could have an awfully bright future. Young man's blue-rumped one that comes next, certainly a robust one in terms of his forerib and the midsection of his body. He's a little thicker in terms of his neck and throat. He's a little rounder out of just his hip and rump, but certainly a fresh, well-presented, big rib, big-bodied kind of barrel. The red one that comes next, one that I absolutely love in terms of his look and extension up front. He's a big armed barrel. He's just plain and simple got to be more flexible off of his rear too. He's got to be more comfortable in terms of the way he hinges and goes there out of his hip and rear leg, but that is a killer-looking one through the front 1/3 of his body. Blue-belted one comes next. She's got to be better through her ham-loin junction. I'd like to moderate her just a fraction in terms of her length of body. Really fresh, well-presented one comes out there. The young lady in the red's done a nice job with. He's got to be heavier structured. He's got to be longer out of his hip and rump. And we round into a pair of heavy-muscled, really robust ones that just got to be more attractive in terms of their look and presence up front. Awesome way to start off with our light crosses. Let's put our hands together and congratulate those young folks as they head back to the barn.
Top 5 in Class 8 Light Cross Market Hogs. 5th place was Dawson Wade. 4th was Audrey Davis. 3rd was Blaze Davis. 2nd is Luke Charles. And 1st is Bailey Stromberger. So this will now bring us to Class 9 Light Cross Market Hogs. This will be the final class within this particular division. In this class is Jake King, Stetson Westmoreland, Colton Allen, Nick Hermes, Jolie Ontiveros, and Kylie Pfeiffer. So as I mentioned, this is the final class within this particular breed. And so this will serve as first call for class number 10, Dark Cross Market Hogs. First call, class 10, Dark Cross Market Hogs.
Was we round out the light cross division. I think we've got a good set of these market hogs to work with again. I think the young man's calico colored barrow just does it for me from a freshness perspective, a balance perspective, and then when you study him in relation to the barrow that comes in second, I think pound for pound, he's just a heavier structured option. He's got a bigger forearm, he's got a bigger rear leg, and then I think when you step right in behind him and watch him go to the surface and go directly away from you, I think his hock stays within himself, not better than the barrow that comes in second. And again, freshness, balance, proportionality, I think all those things certainly work in his favor. The Red Road one that comes in two, no doubt he has the advantage just in terms of width and muscle when you get right on top of him. I'd like to stouten this guy, particularly about his jaw, about his forearm in relation to how much just shape and muscle he's got up high. Certainly one that you admire from that perspective, as I alluded to. When you get right in behind this guy, he wants to rotate his hock to the outside of his body ever so slightly. I'm not sure what he weighs, but certainly commend that young lady keeping that one that fresh, that long. That's a big pig that's still fresh and youthful in his appearance. Got a great big back working in him. I've just got to tweak him from a stoutness and then his rear leg perspective to go ahead and make him your class winner. The blue one that comes next, really attractive from a color pattern standpoint. He's a tall-shouldered, extended barrow through the front one-third of his body. I think age and maturity are starting to work to his disadvantage just a little bit. I've got to freshen him up in terms of his look. I've got to freshen him up in terms of his muscle shape just a notch, but his proportionality, his balance, his function in terms of his feet and legs allow him to work into the top end of this particular drive. Blue gilt that comes next, certainly one that maybe fits into a breeding gilt scenario just a notch better from just a size and scale standpoint. Big rib, big body, big topped individual. She's got to just use her rear leg with a little more comfort and ease as she goes across the surface out here. I'd like to blend her just a notch differently right there at her ham-loin junction. Round out with a pair of blue ones here. Young man's got a heavy structured one that needs to be fresher in terms of muscle and shape. Young man right here does a nice job of getting this blue belted barrow driven. He's just got to have more bone and structure. Good class to round out our light crosses there. Let's give those young people a nice round of applause.
Results of Class 9 Light Cross Market Hogs. Fifth place was Colton Allen. Fourth, Kylie Pfeiffer. Third is Nick Hermes. Second is Jolie Ontiveros. And first is Jake King. So now this will be the breed drive of the Light Cross Market Hogs. So coming out of Class number 8, first place was Bailey Stromberger. Second was Luke Charles. And out of Class number 9, first place was Jake King. And second was Jolie Ontiveros.
We get our two class winners and our 2 seconds back out here within this light cross division. I think pretty evident that, man, it's been a good division to work through. I think all 4 of these certainly represent high-quality livestock as they come back out here. I think there's a pair of them that just from a balance and proportionality standpoint, from a feet and legs standpoint, and then they pile on some extras in terms of width and dimension. Their rear leg assembly and just drive out here, I think, is second to none. They both come out of what I thought maybe was the deepest class we've seen thus far today. Young lady right here's got your champion. Young man right here's got your reserve. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And the champion Light Cross Market Hog goes to Bailey Stromberger out of Class number 8, and reserve, also out of Class number 8, was Luke Charles.
Well, I think we got a really good way to get started here with these dark crosses. Young man's got the gilt here that's our eventual class winner that I think, when we talk about fit jobs and paint, I think this gilt would almost look better with maybe just a little less, because I think you could shave this gilt bald and she's still heavy boned. That's a huge rear leg. That's a really comfortable skeleton. I love the set to an angle to her shoulder, her ability to reach out of her shoulder. She stays more collected in terms of her hip and hock. I'd like to maybe bust her open just a fraction in terms of width. I think that's what makes it close between the pair, but I think undeniably from the side view profile, she's the one that balances the best and then just comes with a notch more bone and feature. Absolutely huge rear leg in that gilt to go ahead and win this particular class. The bear that comes in too, maybe at a slight disadvantage from a size perspective, but I think when you analyze him for what he is, he's really open and bold about his chest. He's really fresh and shapely in terms of the amount of spread and muscle he's got coming out of the backside of his blade. Unfortunately, he wants to fight this young man a little, and with this surface out here, the longer he drives, he just wants to tighten and kind of camp his rear leg outside of his body ever so slightly. But I think we get that one driven, we get him fit together. I think that one could have a tremendously bright future. He just wants to tighten up a fraction too much for me out here today. The one that comes next, if we just propped him up and took a picture of him, this one would take an awesome picture. He's sharp about his head and neck. He's really moderate in terms of his length of body. He's really robust through his full rib and his center portion of his body. He falls out for me just a notch when I get right in behind him. He's got just a little different shape to his hock. He's got a little smaller rear foot, and as a result, he just doesn't use his rear leg as comfortably. I've got to make him more secure and stable off of his rear too. But again, his side view profile, just a silhouette he paints from the side, I think is incredibly good. I've just got to make him more secure off of his rear too. Young lady's gilt that comes next, no doubt one that's just absolutely chock full of muscle. She's as heavy muscled as anything we've got in this particular drive. Unfortunately for me, I think for the amount of spread and muscle that this gilt's got up high, foot and bone doesn't match down low. She's got to be heavier structured. She's got to be stouter featured to make it match what she's got up high. Gilt that comes next is one that's got some shape and muscle. I've got to blend her just a notch differently right there through her ham-loin junction, and she just wants to get a little too upright in terms of her blade and front end for me. We run into a couple of them here that are a little longer bodied. As a result, they just don't balance as well from the side view profile. I thought a very, very good class to start off our dark crosses with. Let's put our hands together and congratulate those exhibitors as they head back.
Results of Class 10, Dark Cross Market Hogs. 5th place is Cade Smith. 4th is Savannah Hinton. 3rd is Carlina Tannen. 2nd is Cade Jackson. And 1st is Landon Charles. That'll now bring us to Class 11, Dark Cross Market Hogs. In this class is Aiden Piddington, Leighton Hopkins, Bailey Stromberger, Zach Vaughn, Maggie Brown, and Jolion Taveros. Weights in this class range from 162 pounds to 169 pounds. Attention the hog barn. This will be first call for class number 12, Dark Cross Market Hogs. First call, class number 12, Dark Cross Market Hogs. As we're working through this class of Dark Cross Hogs, I'd like to take a moment and thank many of the local businesses that have donated equipment for us to use all throughout the weekend, or all throughout the 2 weeks of this show. Kubota, they've donated tractors and skid steers as well as 5R Construction. They let us use a front end loader. Tenco Trucking allows us to use a side dump trailer and driver. It wouldn't be possible to make all this happen without those guys. Also want to remind everybody that there are several vendors out there in the lobby, and they're running plenty of specials that you can get Christmas gifts for the whole family. As well, want to thank Pine Bluffs Distilling. They're one of our grand champion sponsors as well. They've been serving everybody drinks all throughout these 2 weeks. A little early in the day, I guess, to start on it now. But here this afternoon, if you'd like to have a beverage to drink on here this afternoon, Pine Bluffs Distilling. is a place where you can get something to drink. Want to give a big thank you to them. They also donate the whiskey, and they also donate Supreme barrels, and the show gets a percentage of sales here at the show. So a huge thank you to them. Also want to give a thank you to the Derby Club, another Grand Champion sponsor. They're located on East Pershing. They're a horse race gambling business. They have activities for the whole family, including bowling, escape rooms, laser tag, and much more. Please visit them while you're in town here this afternoon or through the weekend. As well, thank you to Showtech Feeds, another Grand Champion sponsor that they have sponsored the show for the last 4 years. They donate special prizes to the swine exhibitors, as well as donating money to the show. So if you see those purple buckets that are getting handed out, that's all thanks to Showtech Feeds. Big thank you to them. Also want to give a big thank you to Wyoming Hat Company, as well as Grow Business Solutions. That's Kelly Groney there out of Torrington. And No Dust Sharpening is here for the first time this year. They've been busy sharpening blades, so go drop off those blades before you leave here today. Also, a thank you goes to Legacy Livestock Imaging. You can go to their website and get pictures all throughout the weekend, or all throughout these 2 weeks, I should say.
As we get into this next class of dark crosses, I think there's certainly some give and take within this initial pair. I just keep coming back to the extra comfort and stability of the young lady's barrow to my left here. I think he's a more robust barrow in terms of his chest and the center part of his cavity. You get right on top of him, and he's good in terms of his shape and freshness coming out of the backside of his blade. And then I think where he has the decided advantage, you just study the angle to his blade, the way he reaches out of his front skeleton, he reaches looser off of his rear too, and then he checks more boxes just in terms of width, bulk, and dimension to go ahead and win this particular drive. The young lady's barrow that comes in too, no doubt, has the extras in terms of height and shoulder, look ahead of his blade. He's got an awesome kind of a show barrel head on him. He's got a great big forearm working in him. Unfortunately for me, he gets a little too vertical off of both ends of his skeleton. I've got to give him more angulation and cushion to his shoulder and front knee, allow him just to reach more effortlessly off of both ends of his skeleton. And then as we compare him back to our class winner, I didn't think he was quite as good in terms of the bulk to the center portion of his body, but that's a really neat, intriguing barrow to go ahead and be in 2. The one that comes in 3 resembles him a lot in terms of height and shoulder and look ahead of his blade. He's a really attractive barrow in terms of just his natural presence and look out here. He's got shape and muscle. He's loose hinged out of his hip and rear leg. He's just got to come with more bulk and spread for me. I've got to open him up in his chest. I've got to make him rounder through his cage and the center portion of his body, but I absolutely love him from the side view profile in terms of just his proportionality and skeleton. Good pig to be in 3. One that comes in 4, young man's brought us a couple good ones today that are presented to a T in terms of skin and hair. Absolutely has them maxed out in terms of shape and muscle. This barrel's just got to be more comfortable off of his rear too. He's got to be looser hinged off of his rear skeleton. Round out with a couple that just got to be better from a balance and build perspective before we can work them any higher. Another really good class. Young people are doing an awesome job. Let's put our hands together and show them our appreciation.
Results of Class 11 Dark Cross Market Dogs. 5th place is Leighton Hopkins. 4th, Zach Vaughn. 3rd, Maggie Brown. 2nd, Bailey Stromberger. And 1st is Jolion Taveros. This is Class 12 Dark Cross Market Dogs. In this class is Brooke Vaughn, Kennison Stone, Lena Charles, Aiden Pittington, and Simon Raff. Weights in this class range from 170 pounds to 175 pounds. So once again, this will serve as our final class of the lightweight dark cross division.
We get into the final class of this division, and the young lady's solid black barrel wins this class and does so pretty handily. When we study him just from a balance and build perspective, he just fits together so much better than the barrels that come in 2 and 3. I'm not telling you he's the most extreme in any one particular area, but his look, his function, his feet and legs allow him to go ahead and win this class in a pretty commanding fashion. I think it's close between second and third. I think the young man's barrel there on the far side, the late arrival, just comes with a shot more bone and structure. I think he ties together a notch better right there through his ham loin, and just the way he transitions through his loin into his rear skeleton just fits a notch better. He holds his top line a notch stronger. I'd like to elevate him just a notch right there at the point of his shoulder to make him balance just a notch, a fraction better, but certainly admire him just from a bone and structure standpoint. Young lady in the purple drives us a really heavy muscled one that's bold chested and really fresh back. I just can't get this guy to proportion well enough from the side view profile. Wants to get just a little rounder about his rear skeleton, and then as I alluded to, he's got to tie together better as he transitions there from his loin edge into his hip and rear skeleton assembly. Young man's barrel that comes next, tall shouldered one. He's got to have more cushion and give off of both ends of his skeleton. The young lady rounds out the class with one that's got tons of muscle and shape. He's just got to fit together better from a proportionality standpoint. Good way to round out D1 here in these dark crosses. My compliments to those exhibitors as the head back.
Top 5 in Class 12 Dark Cross Market Hogs. 5th place is Kennison Stone. 4th, Simon Raff. 3rd is Brooke Vaughn. 2nd, Aiden Piddington. And 1st is Lena Charles. So in the ring right now, this is the lightweight drive of the Dark Cross Market Hog division. So coming out of class number 10, first place was Landon Charles. 2nd is Cade Jackson. Out of class 11, first place was Jolion Taveros. 2nd in that class was Bailey Stromberger. Out of class number 12, first place is Lena Charles. 2nd was Aiden Piddington. So once again, this is the lightweight division drive for the Dark Crosses.
Well, I think a really good D1 here in these dark crosses. It comes down to the belted barrow and the young man's gilt going across the center. I think hogs that both complement each other very, very well. I think as you analyze the young lady's barrow, he's not the most attractive, maybe about his head and neck, but man, he is so good in terms of his feet and legs. He's so good in terms of his practicality. He's got turn and shape to his forerib and the center portion of his body. He's athletic out of his hip and hind leg. I think just a really practical one that does a lot of good things out here. And I think as you analyze the young man's gilt, one that's so loose hinged off of both ends of her skeleton, and I think it's hard to do when you make one that heavy structured to keep everything in check, to keep them square coming and going. I guess the question you've got to ask yourself with that particular gilt in a market hog setting, does she have just enough chest? Does she have just enough horsepower to her? For me, she does today. I think she's an absolute outlier in terms of bone and feature. She's your champion D1. Congratulations.
Champion lightweight dark cross market hog goes to Landon Charles out of class number 10. So that brings into contention Cade Jackson, second in that class.
We dropped that second place barrel out here, and I think, maybe at a slight disadvantage just from a size and scale standpoint within this particular division. But, man, when he comes back out here fresh, he certainly jumps right into the mix of things. I think as we alluded to in his particular class, first impression on this hog's very, very good. Unfortunately, when he starts to fight that young man just a shade, he starts to want to get notch uncoordinated with his hip and rear leg, kind of wants to camp outside of his body. So I think it's a close decision because I think that pig's got an incredibly bright future. I just feel a little more comfortable with the way another one out here utilizes their hip and rear leg and just their rear skeleton. Young lady's barrel right here to my left is going to be reserve D1.
Reserve champion lightweight dark cross comes out of class 11. That's Jolie Ontiveros. So now that will bring us to class 13. Dark cross market hogs in this class is Landon Schaefer, Jolie Ontiveros, Madison Lapp, Cade Smith, Livy Tannen, Leighton Hopkins, Callie Johnson, Dawson Wade, and Braden Fields. This class ranges in weight from 177 pounds to 185 pounds.
Well, I think we got another really good class that's got a ton of quality to work with here on the top end. Young lady drives our class winner right here in front of me. I think this show barrel just awesome from the side view profile in terms of just look and extension ahead of his blade. He's so soft and pliable through his forerib in the midsection of his body, yet maintains a good underline, maintains good proportionality. His length of hip and just his utilization of his rear leg, bend to his hock, cushion to his rear pastern, I think are all spot on. That one checks a lot of boxes for me to go ahead and win this particular class. Young lady's a black-legged one that comes next there, and certainly a barrel you like in terms of his extension ahead of his blade. He's a stout-jawed, big-armed kind of barrel. When we study him in relation to our class winner and you get into his forerib in the midsection of his body, he's not got the same kind of curvature to his forerib. He's not as long and level out of his hip and rump. He just doesn't use his rear leg as comfortably as what our class winner does. But again, I like his look. I love his shape. I love his muscularity. That's a good pig to go ahead and be in the 2-hole. Young man comes out of 3 with the black-headed, black-rumped barrel there. One that's beautifully presented just in terms of his skin and hair. He's a big-chested, big-top, big-ended kind of a show barrel out here. In relation to the 2 barrels ahead of him, I think he's the driest through the midsection of his body. His heart and his forerib need to be deeper and fuller. He just got to be a softer bodied, softer centered option before we can consider him any higher. Off-belted barrel that comes in 4, another one that's presented to a T just in terms of skin and hair and feel and shape up high. I think all those things are spot on and very, very good within this particular barrel. I thought of the initial 4, he was the frailest in terms of just his foot bone and feature. Then I've got to blend him just a notch differently right there through his ham-loin junction. Really stout, robust one comes out next. A round rib, big top, big ended kind of a barrel. I'll take them a little softer on their front feet as long as they don't get ouchy. Unfortunately for this barrel, he just wants to get a little tender on his front feet out here. Really heavy boned one comes next. I like her bone and feature. She's just too hard through her midsection of her body. Then we round out with some that just got to be better in terms of proportions. They've got to be better in terms of their feet and legs to work any higher in a competitive class. Let's put our hands together and show them our appreciation as they head back.
Results of Class 13 Dark Cross Market Hogs. The top 5. 5th place was Dawson Wade. 4th, Landon Schaefer. 3rd, Braden Fields. 2nd, Livy Tannen. And 1st was Jolion Taveros. So now this will bring us to Class 14 of the Dark Cross Market Hog Division. In this class is Carlina Tannen, Cash Stone, Julia Hopkins, Madison Lapp, Carter Wade, Creo Spears, Ellie Davis, Brinley Coriel, and Allison Plum. Weights in this class range from 190 pounds to 196 pounds. I'd like to take a moment to remind everybody as well that as you make your way out of Cheyenne here today, there's a lot of volunteers that make this happen. And so just because the show is done for the day, they also have to do a lot of cleanup. And so if we could have everybody please help in that effort and just make sure you pick up your trash, please be sure that you leave the place looking pretty good to make it just a little easier for our volunteers as they make their way out of here today as well. as we talk about those volunteers, I just want to give them another huge thank you. Some of those volunteers include some of the local people around town, as well as the Laramie County Community College show and livestock judging teams, as well as some Cheyenne FFA chapters. It's a beautiful facility here and very well set up, and that's due to those folks that help set it up and as well tear it down. They also have some help here throughout the week or the course of the 2 weeks from the Laramie County Event Center staff. Again, beautiful facility. So thank you to the Laramie County Event Center and as well as the Laramie County Event Center staff for making this possible.
As we continue to progress through these dark cross classes, man, the quality continues to come through these holding pens behind me. I think a really good pair of them as we start to creep up here and weight just a shade. I think the young lady's barrow that wins our class just excels in terms of head and neck carriage. He's more extended from the base of his chest to the tip of his nose. I think when you get into the midsection of him, he's got more outward turn and curvature to his forerib and the center portion of his body. And then as you watch the barrows go across the surface, I think the deciding factor for me, you watch the class winner utilize his rear leg. He pulls his hock behind his tail head further. He just uses his rear leg with more range of motion than the barrow that comes in two. The barrow that comes in two, very, very highly presented barrow in terms of skin and hair. My compliments to the young lady and their family. They've got that one absolutely dialed in from a skin and hair perspective. I love this barrow from just a proportionality standpoint. His length to height ratio are all spot on. Looks like he's going to be a good kind of heavyweight when he gets to his end point. Again, as I alluded to, I didn't think he was quite as sharp in terms of his front one-third of his body. More importantly, I didn't think he just pulled his hock behind his tail head and used his rear leg with the same range of motion as what that class winner did, but that's an awfully good barrow to be in too. Young lady that comes in three continues to bring us a good set of hogs as she's done all day. This is a really heavy structured, big armed kind of barrow. He's really good in terms terms of the outward turn and curvature to his forerib and center portion of his body. Might sound a little funny, but I think as big-armed as he is, I don't know that his rear leg matches just in terms of bone and feature. And then as we study him going to the surface, he's another one I just got to hinge a notch differently in terms of his rear too. He's just got to go with more flex and authority as he goes to the arena surface out here. One that comes next, really, again, a heavy structured, loose hinged kind of a barrel. He reaches good off of both ends of his skeleton. He's got a stout head. He's got a big arm. He wants to get just a shade longer bodied as a result. He wants to get a little easier in terms of his top line. More importantly, when I get right in behind him, I've got to square him from hip hock to ground before we can consider him any higher. We can let these next couple come out together. Really fresh, well presented, shapely kind of barrows that need more bone and feature. Then we round out with some that just got to be better again in terms of feet and legs. They've got to be better in terms of their freshness. I thought an exceptional class to work through. Let's put our hands together and congratulate all those exhibitors.
Top 5 in Class 14 of the Dark Cross Market Hogs. 5th place is Allison Plum. 4th is Cash Stone. 3rd, Brinley Coriel. 2nd is Ellie Davis. And 1st is Carlina Tannen. So now that will bring us to Class 15 of the Dark Crosses. In this class is Emery Chamberlain, Jackson Hodson, Michaela Curlis, Cooper Zolman, Zach Vaughn, Ashlyn Johnson, Ellie Davis, Caleb Hackbart, London Ulmer, and Carter Wade. Weights in this class range from 197 pounds to 210 pounds. This will be first call for Class 16 Dark Cross Market Hogs. First call for Class 16 Dark Cross Market Hogs. Class 15 is just now making their way into the ring. This will be first call, Class 16. As we're nearing lunchtime, want to remind everybody as well that you can go grab some food at Uncle Fred's Concessions right there in the lobby. Uncle Fred's Concessions has some really good food right out there in the lobby if you're getting hungry as we near lunchtime.
As we've continued to progress into these heavier weights, the young people and their families continue to bring us a very good set of these dark cross market hogs. I think the depth here at the top end of this particular class, very, very good. I think it's close between this pair of black barrels out here. I think the young lady's off-belted barrel just comes with more extras in terms of bone and feature. Starts at the tip of his nose. You study the stoutness to his skull, his jawbone, his forearm, all those indicators read stouter, and then you watch that guy in motion and he just hinges so loose out of his hip and rear leg. Step right in behind him. He's wide, true, and squares. He goes directly away from you. I think that's a really good off-belted barrel to go ahead and win this particular drive. Young man's solid black barrel comes next, and I absolutely love this one just in terms of proportionality, his height, the length ratio, the outward turn and shape he's got there to his forerib are all very, very good. As I alluded to there, as I described our class winner, I've got to stouten him about his jaw. I've got to give him a bigger forearm to go ahead and get around that one right ahead of him. But, man, he's so balanced. He's so complete, so flexible, checks a lot of boxes. Just need to see a notch more bone and structure out here today. Young lady's barrel that comes next, I apologize to her. Maybe missed that barrel coming out of the gate initially. Didn't get him put in a pen right away. But, man, from shoulder blade back, that is a very good show barrel. Big armed, soft and pliable through his forerib and center portion of his body. He's sound and flexible in terms of the way he reaches and goes out of his rear two. Of the initial trio, he's the thickest at the top of his neck and his poll. He's deeper about his throat. I've just got to clean him up there through his front 1/3. But, man, shoulder blade back, that's a very impressive animal. My compliments to her on a job well done. Barrel that comes next, again, sound and flexible, reaches good off of both ends of his skeleton. Of the initial 4 barrels, he's the flattest in terms of his forerib and center body. He's a notch bigger outlined. He's a notch longer bodied. As a result, that just doesn't allow him to power up like those ones ahead of him right there through his midsection, but certainly admire him in terms of just look, flexibility, range of motion. All those things are very, very good. Young man's off belt comes next, and certainly dialed in from a skin and hair perspective. He's a big top, big ended barrel. He wants to sit a little lower at the point of his shoulder. He wants to become a notch more uncoordinated in terms of the way he hinges out of his hip and rear leg there. Young man's gilt comes next. Continues to bring us a good set of pigs. That's a big armed, really shapely kind of gilt that needs to be softer through her forerib and mid-body. But more importantly, when I get right in behind her, she wants to push her hock outside of her body. Young lady's got a good pattern one right there that needs more muscle. And we round out with a couple that just got to be better in terms of range of motion, in terms of the way they reach and go off their skeletons out here today. Good class. Let's put our hands together for those kids as they head back.
She said she was 9. Hopefully she's 9. Or 10th. She should have been 10th then.
Results of Class 15 Dark Cross Market Hogs. Fifth place was Jackson Hodson. Fourth, Emery Chamberlain. Third is Michaela Curlis. Second is Carter Wade. And first is Ellie Davis. So once again, in the ring right now is Class 16 of the Dark Cross Market Hogs. In this class is Madison Lapp, Traley Folan, J.D. Shoup, Callie Johnson, Maggie Brown, and Jake King. Weights in this class range from 211 pounds to 220 pounds.
We get into this particular class, and it fits together pretty logically, in my opinion. Young man Solid Black Gilt wins this drive and does so pretty handily. Beautiful from the side view profile, sharp about her head and neck, big arm, big chested. Gilt that's good in terms of just the shape and curvature there to her forerib. Really fresh and youthful in terms of her appearance. Good in terms of her shape and muscle when you get right on top of her. She's good and square. She goes directly away from you. You know, if I want to get critical, I'd like to maybe clean her up back there in her gland and flank region just a fraction, but I think that's getting critical of a really good gilt to go ahead and win this particular drive. I think it gets closer the rest of the way out, and there's certainly some give and take within this initial trio of market hogs as we work our way through the rest of the class. I thought there was just more to the young lady's white sock barrow, big-chested, really big back, big-ended kind of a barrow. In comparison to our class winner, he's not as good in terms of range of motion. I've got to strengthen him right there in his top line, just a fraction from the side view profile, but I think there's simply just more to him than the good designed, good built gilt that comes in 3. The gilt that comes in 3, you know, as I alluded to, I like her from just a design and build and flexibility standpoint. She's a high-headed, short-backed or moderate gilt in terms of just her length of body. I certainly like all those things about her. I've just got to bulk her up and give her more power, give her more width and dimension, particularly in a market hog setting. Young lady does an awesome job of getting that one driven out here. The white hind-legged barrow that comes next is one that does come with more bulk and spread and dimension. He's a big-armed barrow that's certainly adequate in terms of just his width and the amount of spread he's got up high. For me, what gets him worked down in this particular class is just the way he utilizes his rear skeleton. I've got to make him reach and go more comfortably off his rear tube before we can consider him any higher. We round out with a couple big muscled ones that just simply got to be better in terms of their feet and legs before we can work them any higher today. Another good class, good way to round out that division. Let's put our hands together for those exhibitors as they head back to the barn.
Results of Class 16 Dark Cross Market Hogs. 5th place is Traley Folan. 4th is Callie Johnson. 3rd is Maggie Brown. 2nd is Madison Lapp. And 1st is Jake King. So this is the middleweight division drive of the Dark Crosses. So coming out of Class 13, first in that class was Jolion Taveros. 2nd, Livy Tannen. Out of Class 14, first is Carlina Tannen. 2nd is Ellie Davis. Out of Class 15, first is Ellie Davis. 2nd is Carter Wade. And out of Class 16, first is Jake King. And 2nd is Madison Lapp.
Once we get our 4 class winners back out here and what I believe is our middleweight division, man, it's been a good division of these dark crosses to work through. I think there's one out here that suits me extremely well. I think when you talk about bone and feature, look and design, does all those things incredibly well. He's big-ribbed, he's big-bodied, he's square off of both ends of his skeleton. He's a little bit of a knucklehead as we come back out here, but I think a really good pig. Young lady over there in the corner's got our division champion.
Champion of the middleweight Dark Cross Market Hogs comes out of Class 13. That is Jolion Taveros. So that brings into contention Livy Tannen.
As we get ready to tie your reserve in this particular division, I think it's a two-horse race. I think a very close decision, and I never want to be negative, but I think you can certainly tweak each one of them in a place. One of them being the young lady's bear right here in front of me, a hog that's just presented to a T in terms of skin and hair. His freshness is spot on. She gets him driven very well out here. He's a heavy structured flat back bear that really hinges loose out of his hip and rear leg. I guess the question you've got to ask yourself with that bear, is he just good enough when he comes right at you? He's big in his chest, but he wants to taper from there to the ground. I think the other one in contention, the young lady's bear right here in front of me, one that is just absolutely gorgeous from the side view profile. He's sharp about his head and neck. He's big armed. I think he's got more outward turn and just flare to his forearm in the center portion of his body. I think what makes it close is when he goes directly away from you, you could base him just a fraction wider as he goes to as he goes directly away from you. No need to make a mountain out of a molehill. I prefer his extra look, his extra rib, and just a flare to the center portion of his body there. Young ladies, Belted Bears, your reserve division. Congratulations.
Reserve champion in the middleweight dark crosses also comes out of Class 13, and that is Livy Tannen.
Was that or was that the cup?
Excuse me. Correction on the reserve actually comes out of Class 14. There's a class winner out of Class 14. That was Carlina Tannen. So this will now bring us to our final division in the dark crosses. This is Class 17, and this class is Win West, Kate Jackson, Creo Spears, Emily Seeger, Waverly Millard, Hannah Seeger, London Ulmer, and Allie Souls. Weights in this class range from 222 pounds to 235 pounds. Attention in the hog barn and around ringside. At the conclusion of the Market Hog Show, we will take a 10-minute break, a 10-minute picture break at the conclusion of the Market Hogs before we start the gilts. Once again, a 10-minute break at the conclusion of the Market Hog Show.
We jump into the next division. The first class here falls together pretty logically for me. The young man's gilt that wins this class, I think just the heaviest structured, bulkiest option. Still got a good look ahead of her blade. She's overpowering in terms of just that shot she gives you coming out of the gate. So square and bold about her chest. She's round and robust through her forerib and center body. She uses her rear leg with the right kind of flex and athleticism out here. You know, if you want to get real critical, you'd like to clean her flank up on that right side just a fraction, but I think she wins this class and does so in a pretty commanding fashion. Bear that comes in too, certainly like this guy just from a side view profile, tall-shouldered, really attractive about his head and neck. I love him just from a design and build standpoint. He's got some bone and structure to go with it. He's a big-armed, really loose-hinged barrel off of his rear too there. I guess for me, what gets him beat is when I get right on top of him, he just doesn't have enough to him. He needs more shape, he needs more bulk, he needs more spread, but that is a beautifully designed barrel from the side view profile. I think if you've got more days on feed and you can gas that guy up and get just a little more horsepower to him, I think he could certainly have even better days ahead. One that comes next, probably the opposite end of the spectrum, maybe overshot the runway here just a little bit in terms of hydration and in terms of muscle and shape up high. I think this guy's got an absolute ditch working down his back, but I think it starts to work to his disadvantage just a shade. He's a little tighter hinged off of both ends of his skeleton. I think if we take just a little out of him and he'll get out here and cover the surface with a little more ease and comfort, that's a unique barrel in terms of proportions, in terms of height of shoulder, in terms of freshness and shape up high. One that comes next, a big-chested, bold top, big-ended kind of gilt. She just got to be better in terms of her skeleton off of both ends. She kind of wants to sway and swivel out of her hip and rear leg. Got to make her use her rear structure assembly there with more athleticism, with more comfort and flex as she goes across the arena surface. Black one, I think, certainly a barrel worthy of discussion. Big rear, big-bodied, really well-presented kind of a hog. He gets too low set at the point of his shoulder. He gets too round out of his hip and rump. We work through the rest of this class, and, as we get into these bigger ones, it's hard to keep everything in check. It's hard to keep everything balanced and fit together. Young people have done a nice job. We've got a couple that just need to be better out here in terms of their feet and legs. Let's give those young people a nice round of applause as they head back.
Results of Class 17, Dark Cross Market Hogs. 5th place is Emily Seeger. 4th, Hannah Seeger. 3rd is Waverly Millard. 2nd is Win West. And 1st is Cade Jackson. So that will now bring us to Class 18. Class 18 of the Dark Cross Market Hogs. In this class is Maggie Brown, Paisley Mills, Stetson Westmoreland, and Jake King. Weights in this class range between 241 pounds and 255 pounds.
We get into a class of just 4 of them out here, and to be honest with you, it just falls together pretty logically for me. I think the young man's black-headed barrel wins this class and does so in a commanding fashion. Really stout-featured, bold-chested, big back barrel that stays loose and comfortable in terms of the way he hinges and goes out of his hip and rear leg. I think simply overpowers the class and does it in a balanced, attractive package. I'd maybe like to moderate him just a shade in terms of his length of body, maybe power him up through his forerib and center portion of his body, but I think without a doubt he's the one that combines the most positives within this particular drive. The young lady's barrel right here in front of me is going to go ahead and be in 2. I think of what we've got to work with, he's the best patterned option of the final 3 barrels. Tall-shouldered, flat-backed, he's long and level out of his hip and rub. I think he just fits and ties together better through his ham-loin junction. He proportions better from the side view profile than the barrel that goes ahead and comes in 3. If you want to make an argument that the young man's barrel that comes in 3 has more width and dimension, I certainly wouldn't argue with you very long because he is a big-chested, big-topped individual. I've just got to blend him differently right there through his ham-loin junction, and then when you study him at the surface, he's just got to use his rear leg with more athleticism and more comfort to go ahead and get around the good pattern, good built one right ahead of him. Young lady's done a nice job with her solid black barrel right here. He's got shape and muscle up high. He needs more bone. He needs more feature. He needs to just reach a fraction better out of his hip and rear leg. Good class of those heavier weight market hogs. My compliments to the young people.
Results of Class 18 Dark Cross Market Hogs. 4th place was Paisley Mills. 3rd is Stetson Westmoreland. 2nd is Maggie Brown. And 1st is Jake King. So in the ring now, this will be Class 19 Dark Cross Market Hogs. In this class is Bailey Stromberger, Emily Seeger, Nick Hermes, and Gavin Pennington. Weights in this class range between 279 pounds to 298 pounds.
As we get into this final class of these dark crosses, if you'd have told me we've got a class of 4 barrels that are pushing 300 pounds, I would have anticipated that, man, they would all suck, to be honest with you. These 4 barrels are pretty darn good for 4 that look like maybe they've been hanging around for a while. I guess if there's one thing that I've learned, and don't try to guess age on these things in today's world, because they could make you look like a fool at some point. But I sincerely mean it. The 4 young people out here, you brought us a nice set of these big heavyweight barrels today in our market show. Young lady's got our class winner right there. I think a really, really heavy structured barrel. I love his look ahead of his blade, really stout about his jaw. He's got a big arm working in him. He's maybe not quite as full through his heart and forerib and center portion of his body. His weight may be starting to work to his disadvantage a little bit in terms of back shape and muscle up high, but that's a a dang good barrow still, and I think at one point in his life, I bet he looked really, really special. I think he still looks very good today. My compliments to the young lady. One that comes into initial impression on this one is, man, that's a really good kind of show barrow. Again, maybe just a notch past prime in terms of maturity and weight. He's a little drier through his forerib in the midsection of his body. More importantly to me, he looks like at some point in his life there, he maybe sustained an injury to his right rear. He's got a little inflammation to his right hock. He's almost got a little atrophy there where the left side of his ham's a little bigger than the right side, but that is a unique barrow from a look and build perspective. I bet he was an incredibly good baby pig. I bet he was fun to jackpot. Unfortunately, I think, again, that injury or a hock issue there just worked to his disadvantage a fraction out here today. Young lady's still got a really good kind of a show barrow here that comes in third. Again, on maybe a downhill slide in terms of freshness and shape and muscularity, but his proportions are good. His height to length ratio is good. I guess at this particular stage of the game, he's got to be stouter featured. He's got to be heavier boned for me. Young man drives us a black-headed one here that does come with more bone and feature. I think of the four barrows, though, he's the poorest just from a design and build standpoint. He wants to sit just a little lower at the point of his shoulder, but certainly, again, admire the extra bone and structure he brings to the table. Good class to round out those dark crosses. My compliments to the young people there. Maybe looks like we have one more class, but a whale of a good job on those big barrows there. Hats off to them.
Results of Class 19 Dark Cross Market Hogs. Fourth place was Gavin Pennington. Third is Emily Seeger. Second, Nick Hermes. And first is Bailey Stromberger. This will be our last class, class number 20 of Dark Cross Market Hogs. In this class is Colin Nabuda, Riley Vetter, Caleb Hackbart, Stetson Westmoreland, and Peyton Monroe. Weights in this class range from 310 pounds to 320 pounds.
Well, I sincerely mean it when I'm impressed that you guys have been able to keep these heavyweight market hogs looking this good. In today's day and age, seems to be a challenge just to have one that'll get to 280 or 300 and keep everything in check. But you guys have done it and brought us a good set of them. I thought the previous class was good. I think the top end of this class, you could say the same. The two calico barrows surfaced to the top look like almost potentially could be litter mates out here. I think both very good barrows in their own right. I just prefer the moderation to the barrow that wins the class in terms of his length of body. I think he's a shorter bodied option, allows him to just be bulkier through his forerib in the center portion of his body. I think he comes with a bigger forearm. I think he comes with a bigger rear leg. That's a nice 300-pound barrow to go ahead and win this final class. My compliments to the young man on a job well done. The barrow that comes in two, no doubt, you can make the argument that if you like him good looking and attractive, he's the best about his head and neck and extension up front. He's probably got a notch more turn and shape to his loin edge than what the barrow that wins this particular class does. For me, he's a little bigger outlined. He's a little bit longer bodied. As a result, he just doesn't power up quite as well through his forerib in the midsection of his body. But again, impressive job to keep one that fresh, to keep him that in check in terms of feet and legs. You guys have done a well of a good job there with the feed bucket. Young lady lady brings us one here in 3 that offers some outline pieces in terms of look and extension up front. She's a big-armed gilt that's really good in terms of the shape and muscle she's got feeding out of the backside of her blade. She falls out for me when we study her rear skeleton. She simply wants to be too vertical in her rear pastern. She's got to have more set and cushion. She's got to have more flex and give just to allow her to get out here and cover the arena surface more comfortably. But again, my compliments to her on a job well done. Young lady's big rib, big bodied one here comes next. Certainly a barrel to be this fresh in terms of his back shape and muscle at this stage of the game. Certainly a feat that's not easy to accomplish. He's got to be trimmer in his lower 1/3. He's got to be better in terms of his proportionality for me. Then we round out the class with the young man's good gilt there, still offers some quality. She's got to be fresher. She's got to have more shape and bone and feature for me today. Good class to round out those dark crosses. Let's put our hands together and congratulate those young people.
Results of Class 20 Dark Cross Market Hogs. 5th place is Stetson Westmoreland. 4th, Riley Vetter. 3rd, Peyton Monroe. 2nd is Colin Nabuda. And 1st is Caleb Hackbart. So this will be the heavyweight drive of the Dark Cross division. So coming out of Class 17, 1st was Cade Jackson. 2nd in that class was Win West. Out of Class 18, 1st place was Jake King. 2nd, Maggie Brown. Out of Class 19, 1st place was Bailey Stromberger. 2nd, Nick Hermes. And out of Class number 20, 1st place was Caleb Hackbart. And 2nd is Colin Nabuda.
As we get into the heavyweight division out here, certainly been an enjoyable experience to work through these heavy darks. I think all 4 class winners out here certainly represent a ton of quality. Obviously, we've got some variation in terms of weight and size, and certainly those things maybe make it a little more challenging out here. I guess there's one that's just more my kind in terms of bone and feature, having some extra rib and body, still very youthful in terms of look and presence up front. I think pound for pound, you could make the argument that this one is the heaviest structured out here. At one point, maybe you thought the weight break worked to her disadvantage, but when you get back out here, maybe it works to her advantage because I think she's the most youthful, she's the freshest, she's the boldest, she's the bulkiest. Young man's gilt right here is going to be your champion heavy.
The champion heavyweight dark cross comes out of Class 17. That is Cade Jackson. So that now brings Win West into contention for reserve.
We drop that second place in, and I think he certainly jumps right into the mix of things. Just real quick, I think the Hogs are good enough, and I think it's a close decision. I'll kind of tell you what I see or where we could change each one a fraction. I think the barrel out of the last class certainly impressive to keep one that fresh and shapely at that particular weight as he comes back out here to be in contention. He's got to be better as his knee when he comes right at me. I think the young man's black-headed one, certainly impressive from a bone and feature perspective. For me, he gets a little longer bodied as a result. He just wants to flatten ever so slightly through his forerib. He wants to pull apart just a fraction there at his ham-loin junction. I think young lady's big belted barrel here. Another one impressive to keep one that fresh and that youthful in his appearance. I guess for me, I wish he would just use his rear leg and rear skeleton, maybe with a notch more athleticism out here. And that young lady's second place barrel that just dropped out here, beautiful from the side view profile. Love his head carriage, love his forearm, love how flat backed and long hipped he is. You've got to ask yourself at this particular stage of the game, does he come with just enough horsepower? Does he come with enough bulk? For me in this setting, he does. I like him second best. Congratulations to her.
Reserve heavyweight dart cross also comes out of Class 17, and that is Win West. And so now we will move into the dart cross division drive. So coming out of the lightweight division, champion lightweight is Landon Charles. Champion middleweight is Jolie Ontiveros. And the champion heavyweight dart cross is Cade Jackson.
Well, certainly, again, I've enjoyed working through these dark crosses. We get our 3 division winners back out here. I think, man, these are dang good. Would be amiss if we didn't give these 3 young people a nice big round of applause as we drive for champion dark. I think all 3 fit their division, their perspective weight incredibly well. There's one out here that's my kind in terms of look, in terms of build, in terms of bone, in terms of feature. Just killer looking from the side view profile. Incredible in terms of bend and flex to a just enormous rear leg. Wide, true, square off of both ends of his skeleton. I think a dang good pig. Young lady right there's got him. Congratulations.
Champion dart cross comes out of the middleweights. That is Jolie Ontiveros. So that now brings into contention Carlina Tannen with the reserve middleweight.
We get ready to name your reserve, that reserve middle comes out here and certainly jumps right into contention. I think that lightweight gilt, man, that's a unique specimen. Maybe fits into a breeding gilt scenario just a notch better than she does a market hog scenario. I can't wait to find out how she's bred because she's got some outlying pieces. I'd maybe like to see her come with just a little more horsepower at this particular stage of the game in a market hog setting. I think the young man's heavyweight gilt, certainly one that deserves to be considered. Heavy bone, good rib, good bodied. Unfortunately, she maybe wants to fight the whip and tighten up as she comes back out here. And then, as I alluded to, that that reserve middle, man, he is killer good from the side in terms of his look and extension. Big arm, round-bodied, good full-ribbed kind of a barra that just does so many things right. I like him a great deal. He's your reserve dark. Congratulations.
The reserve champion, Dark Cross, also comes out of the middleweights, and that is Carlina Tannen. And we are ready for the grand drive of the 2024 Cheyenne Livestock Expo Market Hog Show. So coming out of the Berkshire division, champion Berkshire, is Addison Hodson. Champion out of the Duroc division is Isabel Shaw. Out of the Hampshires, the champion is Brinley Coriel. And coming out of the light AOB division, champion is Blaze Davis. Champion dark AOB is Win West. And coming out of the light cross division, champion is Bailey Stromberger. And our champion, dark crossbred, is Jolie Ontiveros. Once again, this is the grand drive of the 2024 Cheyenne Livestock Expo Market Hog Show. We will select a top 5 overall chosen by our judge, Mr. Will Hilty of Mount Pleasant, Pennsylvania, where he grew up on a diversified livestock farm exhibiting cattle and pigs throughout his years in 4-H. He now owns and operates Hilty Show Pigs, which consists of 150 crossbred sows with his wife Callie and their daughters Kinley and Kenna. Will has judged shows from coast to coast, including San Antonio, Oklahoma Youth Expo, the Tulsa State Fair, Indiana State Fair, Iowa State Fair, the North American in Louisville, Kentucky, as well as the Exposition. In his free time, he enjoys spending time with his family and friends, fishing, watching Steeler football, and attending livestock shows. Once again, big thank you to our judge, Will Hilty of Mount Pleasant, Pennsylvania.
Well, you guys out here driving them, if you want to park them for just a minute. I know we've got the guilt show to continue on with here, but I also realize that several of you probably got travel plans to get out of here as soon as you're done showing. So I think it's important to take a minute and recognize some people that need to be recognized. First off, thanks to the show committee for the opportunity to be here. I've never been to the state of Wyoming, and certainly enjoyed my time here. I'm not going to be here long, but I have enjoyed to see some of the countryside. And man, what a good set of pigs! I sincerely mean that the top end of these, you take them anywhere in the country, and these ones that are fixing to win today, I promise you they'll be competitive no matter where you go. So I've been impressed with the quality of stock. Man, the show has been seamless in terms of how efficient it's been run out here. So my compliments to the show staff and committee. And you know, I guess from my understanding, this show popped up about 5 years ago when we all went through kind of that COVID thing, and people were scrambling, trying to find options for our young people to continue doing what they love to do. So these guys not only did that, but they've continued to stick around. And I think in today's society and with all these shows going on, there's more opportunities for our young people than there ever been before. But man, this is one of the good ones, and it's not easy anymore, because I promise you, as a breeder that's tries to sponsor and participate and contribute to these shows as much as we possibly can, there's a little bit of fatigue in terms of raising money. People are tired of being asked over and over again. So when you can put an event of this magnitude on and give away the kind of prizes that these folks around here are giving away, that's no easy feat to do. So again, I think we need to give these folks here at the Cheyenne Livestock Expo a huge round of applause on a terrific show for our young people. I've got a flight to catch later today, so we're going to continue to work through it in an orderly fashion. Again, I've enjoyed my time here. I think there's a couple extra special ones out here. Young people, if you want to fire these things back up, again, thanks for the opportunity to be here. Looking forward to working through your guilts and working with your young people here the rest of the day. Again, I think there's a couple of them really special. I'm going to go out here and show you the ones I like. Let's give all, again, the show committee, the show staff, the young people, their families. Let's give everybody a big round of applause, and I'll get you a champion.
And the champion market hog comes out of the light crosses. That is Miss Bailey Stromberger.
Well, I think that young lady's light crossbarrow, certainly what we're trying to do within our breeding program. I thought an incredible individual in terms of look and presence, big-chested, and have the right kind of running gear. This is the last time I'll take the microphone. Again, it's been my pleasure to be here and work with your young people. There's another one out here that's my kind, awesome in terms of proportionality, big rib, big-bodied, heavy structure, good-looking, maybe not quite as sharp up front or as big-chested as what our champion is. He's a little bit of a knucklehead, but I think a dang good pig. Young lady's belted one right here in front of me as your reserve.
The reserve champion market hog is Jolie Ontiveros, our champion dark crossbred. And so now our judge, Will Hilty, will work through selecting the remainder of our top five. Third overall is our reserve dark cross. That is Carlina Tannen. Fourth overall is a reserve light cross, and that is Luke Charles.
Okay.
And fifth overall was our champion Hampshire, and that is Brinley Coriel. Congratulations to all of our Market Hog exhibitors. Once again, we're going to take a quick 10-minute break, and then we will move into the gilt show, please. Hey, Lucas Stallcup.